Right, good evening to you and welcome back to West Ham Unofficial as the Premier League season has drew to its conclusion. It's that time of the year where we give our team of the season. Who's been the standout player? Who's been a player that has caught your eye? This is the second episode. We spoke to Ollie last night, who started off our team of the season series for the end of this season. And my second guest is none other than Gary. How are you, Gary?
I'm very well, Jake. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. A bit worse, that is for sure. An interesting season, of course. Now, just to reiterate what is going on here, there's a maximum of 2 players per team. It's made it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah,
so not everybody's picked, the same team full of Arsenal or Man City players. There's a good mix from most that I've seen so far, and this one is no different. A very good evening to everybody joining us live. Usual suspect. I hope you are well. We'll start in goal, of course, Gary. Now, this is one of your rogue shouts. You've had to put a couple in, as everybody has, because of the limitations of this. Who have you gone for between the sticks, Gary?
I've gone for the Wolves keeper, Sarr, because, as you say, Jake, it's very difficult with 2 players per team. And when I think back this season, I can't really think of an outstanding keeper, apart from, obviously, the Raya at Arsenal, who won the Golden Glove. Yeah. Pickford had a good season as well, so put him on the bench. But I just think I like the Wolves keeper. He's got a good presence, and I just like the way he commands the box. I like him at West Ham, to be honest with you. So I do like him. That was my defining judgment, Jake. I used to think to myself, would I have this guy at West Ham? So that helps. So but I would accept this is probably the weakest position I've gone for. I think the last position I went for. So I was sort of scratching around, thinking I can't have any Arsenal players, can't have any City players, can't have any Liverpool players. So it's quite difficult.
No, that's fair enough. A decent keeper, a decent shout to fill one of the spots of not one of the big teams, and yeah, that is a decent shout. When I saw it, I went, "Oh, I like that." So there we go. Ryan, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I hope you are well. We'll go into the defence. You've gone for a back 3, so start where you like with your centre halves. Who's your first centre half, Gary?
Virgil van Dijk. I think he's come back very well this season. A lot of people question him. I think he's been very good this season. Especially remember his performance in the League Cup final, was it? When he was basically he was old enough to be everybody on the pitch's dad. But he still commanded the team, and I think without him, Liverpool would have been further down the table. I think he's come back to nearly his best. So I think he's also my captain for the back 3.
Absolutely, yeah. Back to his best. Somebody's setting an alarm off, so if you can hear that. Back to his best, Virgil van Dijk. Your second centre half, Gary?
You have to have one of the Arsenal backs up. They've been so outstanding defensively. So again, I'm going left. I'll go for Gabriel rather than the Saliba. Most people go for Saliba, I think, but I think Gabriel's more solid. He allows Saliba to be a little bit more flamboyant on the ball. I really like Gabriel. The centre back pairing are very good. So yeah, that's an obvious choice. Lots of clean sheets. He scored 4 goals himself, 15 clean sheets. So he's an obvious answer.
He's been, together collectively, they've been a standout, and most I've seen so far has involved 1, if not 2, of the Arsenal centre half pair and the best defence in the league. They've been so solid there. They didn't quite get over the line in the end, amusingly, Arsenal. But if they would have done, a lot of praise would have went to that centre half partnership because of how solid they've been throughout the entirety of the season. I think Saliba played every minute of the whole Premier League season or something like that. They were just consistent throughout the entirety of it, Gary.
Yeah, no, they're very good, and I saw them play a couple of times against us. Very good, rock solid. And speaking of which, my third centre back is based on the performance he gave at the London Stadium. Actually, is Everton's Jared Braithwaite. That's how you pronounce it. Yeah, I think he was superb against Antonio. And after that game, which I think was in October or November, I've kept my eye on him since, and he's been just really good. I think, I don't know how old he is. He's probably 20, 21 years old. Yeah, and he's progressed tremendously this season. And if he could carry on this rate of progression, he's going to be a tremendous centre half going forward. Now, ideally, of course, we would swap him with Ogbonna for next season or something like that. But I don't know how much he would cost. If Everton's financial problems are as real as they are meant to be, with 777, I think we should really consider raiding Everton for him.
Absolutely. In an ideal world, he's the centre half that you'd bring in with our ageing centre back sort of sector with Zuma, whose knees are shot, with Ogbonna in there with Gerd, who looks like he's leaving as well. Brathwaite is the tailor-made. He's Premier young,
and
perfect fit.
And the important thing also, Jake, is English, because obviously we need these homegrown contingent. I think it's 16 out of 24, I think. And with some of the other guys potentially leaving, certainly Ben Johnson looks like he's going. Yeah. Jared Braithwaite would be a perfectly brilliant replacement. And I'm pretty certain Everton will have to sell one or two of their stars.
Yeah, absolutely, a complete Rolls Royce to come in the years. Right, so I'm guessing with the players you've picked for the wide areas, they're midfielders, not wing backs, is what I'm going to say. So we're gonna go into the right hand side of midfield. Somebody who lacks defensive capabilities but makes up for it in other areas. Who's your man on the right hand side, Gary?
My man Trent, obviously. Now. I saw him live twice this season, up at Anfield for the League Cup thrashing, and also at home when we drew 2-2. And his passing, his range of passing and his vision, his ability and his touch, he is a very, very, very good, skillful footballer. Now, I know people say he can't defend, and you're probably not the best right back in the world, but you have to make room for this, a guy with this vision, this ability. I think he's a really good player. He scores important goals. He scored a very important goal, I think, against City, if I remember rightly. He got 3 goals and 4 assists, which is quite low for him this season. But it'll be interesting. He's got 1 year of his contract left. Interesting whether he signs an extension or goes somewhere else, because I do think he's a really, really talented footballer, this guy.
Yeah, I think he's a player that is sort of meant to stay at Liverpool in that sense. He seems like that lad came through the academy and all the rest of it, and I think he'll stay there. I didn't know there was only 1 year left on his contract. That'll be something that Arne Slot and the Liverpool hierarchy will probably be looking to extend in the summer. He's been a great player. Look, I'm expecting Gareth Southgate to experiment with him in midfield for the couple of friendlies in the lead up to Euros. He's not good enough in the international arena to play at right back. He just simply isn't, because of his lack of defensive ability, I think, is a polite way of explaining it. But he makes up for it in his offensive capabilities. He again has had a solid season. Just going back to Brathwaite, usual says Everton asking the region of 80 million for him, which I don't think they will get. If they need to sell, then that will come down pretty sharpish. Of course, because he's English, you got a tax that goes on the English tax, and just for the player he is, I think he is a great player. But 80 million, I think they're going to struggle with that. We'll move into the centre of midfield, the partnership that us West Ham fans wanted to see at the Etihad this season. It didn't happen in the end. The first of your 2 centre midfielders, Gary?
Declan. We can't avoid the fact I love West Ham, but we have a Declan Rice-shaped hole in our midfield. Alvarez has been brilliant, but Declan, I truly think, is an exceptional player. Funny enough, when they signed him last summer for 100 million, he said, "I can't believe we've wasted all that money on Declan Rice." And I saw him at weekend for service the boiler, and he said to me, "My God, he's good, isn't he?" And it's the same, he's one of those players, if he plays for you, you realise how good he is. When he's on the opposition, you don't really notice it too much, because he's not a flashy player or anything, but, he covers the ground, he does everything. So he's an obvious choice for me. And then the other centre midfielder I've got for is Rodri, who, in my opinion, is the best centre midfielder in the world. He's such a good player. Is it 50 Premier League games he has lost for, something stupid?
Oh yeah, that sort of unbeaten record, of course, unbeaten in normal time. They were beaten with him in the side against Real Madrid on penalties, but I think at the Etihad, in games that he started, I think it's a ridiculous 50 odd game run. I mean, he's got goals for his game, which we saw at the weekend. He scores cracking goals as well. If he scores a hell of a goal from outside of the box, exactly. and it's a screamer. He doesn't score crap goals; he scores fantastic goals, and his defensive work. Is absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I watched him at the London Stadium play for City. How big he is? He's a really big guy, a big presence in midfield. He must be very hard to get around. And as you say, Jake, he's got 8 goals and 9 assists in the Premier League this season, which for a so-called defensive midfield player is not bad. And although if I'm being really harsh, I think Areola should have probably saved it on Sunday. He's still getting himself in the positions to score. And if I had any money in the world, he'd be the first player I signed. Because I think, if you've got Rodri and Rice in your midfield, the goalkeeper can go on holiday. I literally don't think no one's getting through that too. They are superb.
Absolutely. That midfield partnership, I'm going to bring up the sort of formation-based team that you've put together in a minute, and having those two there, I mean, Man City would have been incredible if they'd have put in. But just going back to Rice, you're absolutely right in the fact is that everybody is moaning about how much they spent and what a waste of money, and they all pretty swiftly shut up in that sense and acknowledged how good he actually is when you watch him week in, week out. You can't help but see that. And there's a bit of bitterness there, of course there is. The chance that he had at the weekend conveyed that quite.
But you got to. He's still a good player, Jake, even though we all are a little bit bitter. Well, not bitter is the wrong word, but a bit, we're pleased to win the league. Yeah,
exactly. And that was Mr. Terry Lucian's bet for Rodri to score at the weekend. Before on the way up in Frankly Services, Dad said to Terry, a player that's going to score, and I'll bet on him. And he said Rodri, and he just turned and looked at me when Rodri put it in and just smiled, and I was like, there we go.
Terry is the voice of doom, isn't he?
He is. Rodri, absolute Rolls Royce of a player. There's no doubt about that one. So we'll move out to the left-hand side of midfield and to a player that has kept a team in South London together this season, Gary.
Is this Rodri? Palmer, is it?
Palmer, yeah.
Yeah, I cheated a little bit here because
West London. I said South London. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It confused me. I had to wedge him in the team, to be honest with you. He's had such a good season, and I'll be brutally honest, Jake. When we were linked with him last summer, I thought, why do you want him? But you see him play, and he's a good player. He's getting better and better. And he had some of my stats here: 22 Premier League goals and 12 assists. I mean, that's pretty good going. I know he takes penalties, but he's probably first choice, not second name on Chelsea's team sheet now. Or a basket case for a club, that is, as well, Chelsea. Second name manager. But Cole Palmer has been superb. I think I was very surprised if most of your teams haven't got him in it, Cole Palmer, because he's been, to my mind, probably second or third best player in the Premier League this season.
Oh yeah, he's been influential. He's been at the right place at the right time, Cole Palmer, and he's just about held a car crash of a club together this season, and that's just continued on with the news yesterday that Mauricio Pochettino has left Chelsea by mutual consent. Just baffling, utterly baffling. And the last 10 or 12 games, they were starting to click Chelsea, and then seems like they're making steps back now, which is mildly amusing, if I'm totally.
It is. Talk about replacing him with the guy from Ipswich who's done really well, but he's never managed in the Premier League. It's just
and why would he leave Ipswich when he just
of course
bought them up?
Very, very, very strange. Very strange.
Yeah, lunacy. Lunacy. We'll move into your front three. Should we go from right to left? A familiar face on the right wing for you, Gary.
I had to put him in because. Hammer of the year, Jared. I had to have one West Ham player. It's either him or Kudos. And Bowen was I think he's getting better and better every year. When he first came, first season, I remember watching him at London Stadium and thought he's a good player, but he has certain limits. Championship, he was very one-footed. And I thought he might be like Anderson. He needs to get taken off sub a lot all the time. Harry Moyes used to take him off. But he's got this inner drive to get better and better all the time. I don't know if you heard the Ironcast interview with him, Jake, and when he talks about his humble upbringing, you can tell he's a nice lad, very humble, really grateful for what he's got, works really, really hard, and now he's international class. Left foot, right foot, headers. He scored more headers this season than I've ever seen before, and I think, I love him, and I think he'll get better and better. The problem we're going to have is obviously like Kudos is hanging on to him. But the advantage he's got the Dyer family next to him, so that might help.
That's the straw that we are desperately clutching onto in that sense. So look, bringing in a championship player, it took time for him to adapt. He then had that amazing season. He dropped off the season before last now, where we finished 14th when everybody in the team dropped off, and he's reared his head back up again this season with and he's posted some pretty impressive numbers and has been quite near the top of that goal scoring chart for the majority of the season. He's played most games, he hasn't picked up too many injuries. It's been a grueling season once again for West Ham, a tight fixture schedule, and he's always a man that we've turned to, and he's delivered on the majority of occasions, and he's in that England provisional squad, and rightly so too. Speaking of a man in the England squad, and a man who won the Player of the Season in the Premier League, you had to pick him. He had to be there, Gary. The man on the left-hand side.
Phil Foden, obviously. I mean, the first goal after a minute on Sunday just demonstrates the class, the way he just opened his body up and pushed forward Prowse, and he had a lot to do from there still, and stuck it in the corner. I think I saw on the TV, I think that he's had the most goals from outside the penalty area in the Premier League. I think he's had 6 or something, and his numbers are just incredible. He's only 23 years old and has won 6 Premier Leagues, which is absolutely ridiculous.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, and he can be as good as he wants to be. He's 23, so let's say he peaks at, I don't know, 28, 29 or something. That's 5 years away, and he's already as good as he is now. It's just frightening to see how good he could be. The only person who doesn't think he's any good is Gareth Southgate, so we'll see what he does with him in the summer. But, again, Jake, I said to you earlier, these selections will have to have Foden in it. He's just been brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I'll make you exactly right. I had a fantastic view of that goal as it went into the corner on Sunday, and it did. It completely illustrated the player he's been this season. He scored both of City's goals inside the first 20 minutes on Sunday. He's just looked head and shoulders, and it helps with the players he's got to the left and to the right of him in terms of in that City team. It oozes class in every way, but he's still got to do it himself, and that's what he's done consistently throughout the entirety of the season. And he's picked up the Player of the Season award, and rightly so. He's got the respect and plaudits and flowers that he's deserved this season. And Phil Foden, I mean, it's good from an England perspective coming into the Euros, Gary, isn't it?
Very good. I just worry about Southgate because he hasn't traditionally used him well in the past. But let's see. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I think we need to make sure he's in the position he can do the most damage for England in the summer. Yeah, we will see. And your final pick is the man leading the line, a player that I very much admire. From up at St James's Park, your striker, Gary. Alexander Isak, who I think is top class. I actually personally think, I know probably the majority of one here, but I think he's better than Haaland. I think he's, he can shoot with either foot. He scores goals. And if you actually look at the stats, his goal per minute ratio is higher than anyone else in the Premier League. So he's unfortunately seems to be injured quite a lot, but when he's not injured, I think he's brilliant. I think if again, second choice for me, Premier League, I'll go Rodri and then I'll go Isak to get the goals if I can get those. God knows what he'd be worth now, but he's a brilliant player. I really like him.
Oh, he is fantastic, and it's just that injuries thing that's been a little bit of an issue for him as of late. Just consistently scored goals. He has been a fantastic player for the Geordies. There is no doubting that one. I'm just formulating your team lineup and putting it in and getting it up onto the screen in just a second. So I'm going to let you move. I'm going to let you move it around in the way you like, Gary. There it is. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. So you've got your back three.
That looks right to me, Jake. That looks perfectly fine to me. Yeah, that looks good.
I'll tell you what, there's goals in that team, that is for sure. There's some defensive cover there as well. I like it. That team is winning the league.
Yeah, there's not much you can do about that team coming out here. Jesus. I'll be feigning injury that week.
Look at that. Palmer, Alexander-Arnold, Foden, Isak, Bowen defensively. There we go. So it's Sarr in goal, back three of Brathwaite, Van Dijk as captain, and Gabriel. You've then got Rodri and Rice in the midfield. Two, Palmer and Trent playing on either flank a little bit higher up. Then the front three of Foden, Isak, and Bowen That is pretty good. I like that one, Gary. So you've got a team, but you can't have a team without a manager. Your gaffer.
Again,
Who's it going to be, Gary?
I've gone left field again. I've gone for the Crystal Palace manager, whose name I can't pronounce very well.
Oliver
I mean,
Glasner.
the transformation in that team, my God, they are just. If the season started, now, Crystal Palace would be top 4 guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. I mean, they look unbelievable. They've got Mateta, they've got Eze, they've got Lise, and they've got the lad from Blackburn, Wharton. They've got centre backs, but they haven't done anything in the transfer market yet. He has literally just come in himself, done whatever he has done, sprinkled his gold dust on it, and they're just brilliant. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, but he was the Eintracht Frankfurt manager against us a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of experience, and Palace have had a blinder getting him in. They really have.
Absolutely, and I think that's the sort of manager that West Ham fans were looking for to come in the summer, a progressive and exciting manager with a direction. Listen, I'm not saying Julian Lopetegui isn't those things, we'll find out, but Oliver Glasner has been fantastic, and the proof has been in the pudding. As you said, he has made no alterations or additions to what he was given when he came in. As far as I'm aware, he has just been absolutely brilliant. I mean, look at some of the results they've had. They've battered us, they've battered Man United, they've battered Villa, all at home. Fair play to them. I think they'll be top 8 next season if they can keep hold of their players. I think
Easily.
They have been very, very good. We've talked about good players. Now I want you to pick one player that hasn't lived up to your expectations this season. To finish things off, Gary, your flop of
now, I'd imagine most people go for a dear old Calvin in this position, but I've decided to go for a Manchester United player, one they paid £55 million for. Don't forget, Mason Mount. I mean, need I say any more? He's gone from England international 2 years ago. Do you remember he was a stablemate of Declan Rice, so-called better than Rice? Now they're just so far apart. Mason Mount, I don't know what's happened to him, but they got £55 million signing, no doubt on 200 grand a week, who is nowhere.
Exactly. Now, I've done 2 of these shows in the last 2 days. My flop choice from Ollie last night was Moises Caicedo, and tonight it's Mason Mount. It's over £150 million worth of player there. Have been absolutely diabolical this season. I mean, Mason Mount was doing okay at Chelsea. He was getting himself in the England squad. He's not even, in the conversation now. He's not getting game time. I know injuries have hit him quite hard this season, but I mean, he's gone to the graveyard of talent, Manchester United.
Absolutely.
It's treated him no different.
Caicedo's still playing and scored a great goal on Sunday at least. He's getting games. Mount, he's sat on the bench now, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's just £55 million. Oh my goodness me.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So there we go. That is a pretty decent team, a decent manager, and a decent choice for your flop of the season there. Gary, I am very impressed. I think you've got a career left in you. If Moisey can do it, I think you can do it.
I can't imagine this is a reject.
Very good. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching in the live chat. And later on, drop a like on the video and subscribe to West Ham Unofficial if you know who would be in your team of the season. Let us know what would you have changed. I mean, usual suspect has said you'd have fitted Bruno Guimaraes in there somewhere. Was he a player that came into your mind, Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very difficult to get these players in. But I looked at the centre midfield where Bruno plays, and I thought I just got to have Rodri and Rice because I wanted Wedge Palmer in the team. Yeah. And personally, I like Trent's passing. But usual suspect has got a good point. He's a good player, Bruno Guimaraes. But I haven't forgiven the referee for not sending him off at London Stadium after 2 deliberate yellows against us. So
exactly.
Back of my mind.
Mandy for the floppage is going Mount or Phillips. That is fair enough. Gary, any final thoughts before we go?
No final thoughts.
There we go. Blunt. It's done. A couple of things coming up. We will rejoin you tomorrow night for our big blockbuster season review where we would dissect everything forensically about what's happened this season. We'll talk about what the feelings were coming into the season, some key flag points, sort of standpoint games and moments throughout the season, then looking ahead to next season as a new era commences for West Ham. You won't want to miss that. That is tomorrow night, our annual season review where we will dump our minds and have a little bit of therapy and look ahead. Plenty of things are going to be said there, Gary.
They certainly are, mate. Just one last thing I meant to say. Good luck to Leverkusen tonight. What they've done this season is just immense. You know, again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think no team has ever gone through a whole season unbeaten in every competition. So they've got 2 games left. So it'd be nice to see them win. At least we can say we're knocked out by the winners. So
exactly.
It's all good. It's all good.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. You want to be knocked out by the winners in the end, don't you? So
Yeah.
it could have been us in Dublin tonight, but it's not. And we wish all of our luck to Bayer Leverkusen as they take on Atalanta tonight. Yeah, there we go. From me, Gary, come on, you Irons. And we will see you soon right here on West Ham Unofficial. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.